We're staying with that issue because I'm joined now by the chairman and co-founder of the campaign group Tainted Blood. It's Andy Evans. Very good to see you, Andy. Now, you've got personal experience of this. Tell me what happened to you when you were, what, 5 years old?
As you say, when I was 5, I was receiving a treatment for my haemophilia, through which I contracted HIV, hepatitis C and hepatitis B. And later went on, when I was 16 years old, to unfortunately go through full-blown AIDS as well. And this was at a time before there was proper medication, the combination therapies out for HIV. We were at the absolute forefront of the AIDS epidemic. And as a result of that, I'm one of only 250 out of 1,200 people infected with HIV through contaminated blood that are still alive today.
And you're very lucky to be alive.
Indeed.
But of course, it didn't need to happen.
That's
Tell
correct.
us why.
So there are 4 main points that we have campaigned on as part of Tainted Blood, and the main one really is that warnings were most certainly ignored about the dangers of importing contaminated blood products from the USA, and in fact using blood products even sourced from this country as well, when there was a viable alternative called cryoprecipitate still available. And the reasons that these products were so dangerous was because they were pulled from thousands and thousands of donors, so one infected donor could infect an entire batch of treatment, which affected pretty much 100% of the haemophiliacs in this country. We had a generation of haemophiliacs wiped out by this.
And this has been, let's talk about the length of time. I mean, you mentioned back to me, for as long as I've been a journalist, I've been aware of this campaign. Why has it taken so long? We're only getting to an inquiry now. We don't fully know the terms of reference, do we?
No, that's correct, and we must be really careful about the terms of reference, which I'll come to in a second. But I think the reason that it's taken so long to come to this point is because of the trickle-down nature of this disaster. If it had all happened in one day and 2,500 people had died, of course there would have been absolute outrage and uproar, and a public inquiry would have been announced immediately. But because people have died over such a long period of time, I think that's one of the main reasons that it's taken so long. And also, we feel that there is potentially negligence and possibly even criminality within the NHS and the government as far as this is concerned. And we think that it's been, as Andy Burnham said, covered up on an industrial scale ever since it happened.
Well, Andy Burnham's interesting on this. I mean, given all his campaigning, as we know, on Hillsborough, I mean, entirely different, but took so long to get the inquiries underway and the inquests underway. But the similarity being, you think there's obviously people going to try to cover their tracks over this period of time?
Well, absolutely. I mean, if you look across the globe at other countries, I mean, our next-door neighbour, France, there were health ministers and other civil servants, senior civil servants in the health department
prosecutions,
there were given criminal prosecutions, and they were actually thrown into jail because of that. And as soon as that happened, we have evidence that the walls started closing in on officials in this country, and we have evidence of documentation being destroyed, all of the documentation around the UK becoming self-sufficient in blood products being scrapped. That was Lord David Owen's private documents, were scrapped under something called a 10-year rule, which nobody's ever heard of. And then we have multiple reports of patients' records being tampered with as well, and also destroyed in ways that make them look as if they were living riskier lifestyles than they were, to divert the attention away from the contaminated blood products that they had.
Oh, my goodness me. Well, let's hope this inquiry gets underway as soon as possible. Good to see you, Andy. Thank you very much indeed. Andy Evans there from Tainted Blood.